All right, in this lesson, my good friend Serge Ramelli took a photo of this miniature Vatican. And as you can see, it's all one color. So to make it look real, I had to go to black and white. So I converted it to black and white, and then I did some cool dodge and burn and contrast effects, which you can see here. And then I added some clouds from above the cloud level so that the horizon was around the same level as the miniature, which was one of the more challenging aspects of this composites. And then a little bit of tweaking here and there, and we get this final composite. So let me show you how to do that. All right, to get started, let's go to the Lessons folder and open up the Vatican folder. And here you have Assets. The first thing we'll open is the Vatican RAW file, this DNG. If you have multiple applications that open up RAW files, just right-click and open with Photoshop. All right, so it'll open up in Camera Raw by default. Now this is very important. By default, it'll say something else here. Basically, you click on this bottom link, this underline, and by default this is unchecked. All right, so it says Open Image, and click on here, check Open in Photoshop as Smart Objects. It's very important. You hit OK, and now it says Open Object. What that means is once you've done your adjustments, it creates a smart object in Photoshop that lets you come back to the RAW file, meaning that you have not rasterized your RAW file. It's a link, and that means you keep your whole dynamic range, and it's very important you do so. All right, so the first things we're going to do is, actually I believe that originally this was cropped like so. All right, and I'm actually going to leave this crop. This is the crop that I want. But notice that, yeah, there's a bunch of people around here and so on. So this is the crop that I want, and let's go back to this. All right, in here, go to the fourth little thing here. It has HSL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness, and convert to grayscale. All right, just use the defaults for now. That's fine. And then come back in here. And it's actually a photo that my good friend Serge Ramelli took, and we're going to retouch it in his way, which is bringing down the highlights, opening up the shadows, cranking up the clarity, crank some of that contrast, lower the exposure a little bit, quite a bit, and let's bring the whites even whiter, the blacks even blacker, more of the whites. Okay, something like this. Maybe bring this down a bit. Okay, and then once you have this, what we're going to do is take a radial filter here, and let's just reset this, reset local. Okay, and we're going to add a little light right here, something like this. Make sure it's on the inside here, and just open up the exposure a bit, something like that. Okay, let's go ahead and duplicate that. Let's bring it a little bit over here. Okay, maybe we slant it a bit, maybe this way. Okay, something like that. Maybe a little strong. Let's turn that down. Turn the feather down a bit. Okay, let's duplicate that. And where else is it interesting? Right over here, it's kind of interesting. I like that. Here, so we're basically adding a few little lights. In this one, I wanted to try something else. Let's try making it a little bigger, like this. And this time we darken it though, so a little bit darker, like so. And then we duplicate it. Bring it to the side here, make it narrow, and here we lighten it. So I'm lightening and I'm darkening. I'm really trying to complexify the light. Maybe feather this one a bit more, bring it up a little more like that. All right, this one could be a little more too, and let's just feather this, make it a little softer. All right, maybe rotate it a bit, even lighter, bring it down a bit. All right, maybe this is a little too dark. Let's just bring it up a little touch like that. Okay, let's take the spotlight, or this one, duplicate this one, and let's maybe put a little light on the dome up here on the left side, like that. Kind of accentuate that light that's already there. And where else can we put? Maybe right here. Rotate it. Okay, duplicate this. And I think we're pretty good. Maybe a little touch right here. A little smaller then. Just kind of gives it a little more life. Okay, maybe this one can be a little bit bigger. Like so. A little bit stronger. Yeah, I like that. Okay, something like that. feel like just missing a little bit of light here, so let's try to duplicate this, bring it to the bottom here, see what that's like. Okay, kind of like that. Interesting. Okay, so something like this. And then go to your ND filters right here, and a gradient filter, and go ahead and reset that, reset local. And we're just going to close the photo up a little bit. So hold on the Shift key to make it nice and straight, and then just bring the exposure down, something like that. And then we do the same up here. Okay, something like that. This top one is a little too much. Let's bring it up. Okay, we can always come back. Like I said, we're opening up an object, so we can always come back. Let's see where we're at. Pretty good. All right, let's open object, and here in Photoshop it'll create a document. Here it is. And now this Vatican is a smart object. Okay. Okay. Now, because we want to make this photo look real, we're gonna have to outline it. Okay. And in this case, it's some of the stuff I want to keep, some of it I don't. So I'm just going to do this manually, and let's zoom in. Let's zoom in to about 300%, something like this. Is 200. It's pretty good. Go to Quick Mask and B for brush. Let's take a small brush. Let's start with a 40 0 hardness. Okay, I'm going to be playing around. All right, let's make the opacity 100. It's important. To play around the size, Control Alt, like as usual, and up and down is the hardness, and left and right is the size. So I'm going to start with a pretty soft brush, and I'm masking out all this. Okay, and shift click. That is what connects the two clicks. So if you followed the rest of the course, by now you're familiar with this. Is a method I use quite a bit. All right, hardness a little too hard. Let's make this a little bigger. Something like that. I want it to be a softer edge, especially around here where it's kind of out of focus. If I miss a spot like that, you hit X. That means the white comes in the front. X is to reverse colors, front and back. X again, now my black is the foreground. So that's a cool little shortcut when you're using masks. Okay. Like this. Okay, around these trees. So this is all a model, and Serge used looks like a pretty small f-stop, so we have some depth of field in there, pretty shallow depth of field. All right, something like this. Okay, going around these trees, I don't want this wall. I want to imagine that, let's make it a little bit bigger. I want to imagine that the wall wasn't there because it's not a model. I'm trying to show it as if it were a real photo. Okay, something like this, and so on. All right. So when it gets blurry, I just don't make it complicated. I use a very fat, soft brush, and that way, whoops, so soft as possible. Yeah, when it's very blurry, just use a soft brush, and that way you won't have the problem of it being too sharp. When you're outlining something that's out of focus, the edges are soft, so just try to keep it that way. All right, like this, like this. All right, here we're getting to the dome, which needs a little more precision because it is a recognizable shape. Unlike, so let's do 15 and 0, should be good. It's pretty soft, but it's a little out of focus, so it should be good. Okay. All right, once you've done selecting everything like this, zoom out a little bit and then go to channels, just hide the RGB, go to the magic wand and click inside it. It'll select it. And our brush was on average about 15 or 10. So let's just do select, modify, expand. Let's do 5, that should be good. And then fill. Alt literally fills with foreground color. Okay, deselect that. Now we're going to go in and clean up anything that we may have missed. Sometimes when you do it like this, Okay, so B for brush, make this smaller, and just kind of come in here. There's a few little things that the magic wand missed. Should be a little faster than the first run through, obviously. Okay, let's zoom out, and now we can go back, click this on. All right, hit Q to get out of quick mask, and then invert the selection, inverse, and just turn that on here. All right, create a new layer. Just call this BG white, background white, and go ahead and fill that. Edit fill with white right here. Okay, bring this right below it, and that way we have white behind it. Okay, that's for the Vatican, and in the next chapter we'll just start inputting the clouds.